Hi there, this is Cheryl Lampard. Welcome to Knit Matters. I've come in a little bit early because, as usual, I just want to check that it's streaming to the right place and that you can hear me okay. Let me just check this. I think that is working. Yes, that is. I can hear myself, so that's wonderful. Okay. Right, we are a little early, so I will wait until 7 before to be fair to everyone that wants to watch live. So it's Halloween tonight, so the door might ring with some trick-or-treaters, which would be fun. My husband is in charge of the trick-or-treaters tonight. So that will be fun to see if we get any where we are. Anyway, I hope wherever you are, you're having a nice evening. And of course, if you're not able to watch this live, you'll be able to watch the replay afterwards. I put it on our Knit Matters Facebook page, and then it's downloaded to YouTube within 24 hours. Right, the time is now 7 o'clock, so we can start. So welcome indeed to Knit Matters. This is season 4, episode 12. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm delighted that you're here. I'm delighted to be here. As I said, I'm Cheryl Lampard. I'm a fibre artist. I'm a knitting educator. I'm a Craft Yarn Council certified instructor. I used to also be a yarn store owner in Brighton, England. And one of the great joys of having a yarn store is that I got to be able to teach people how to knit. I loved doing that then, and I love it now, perhaps even more so now. So I do want to say thank you for all the feedback from last week's episode. When we made this, when I demoed how to make this little gift card holder, several of you said that you were going to use it as a teaching project. There we go, a little gift card in there. Several of you said you were going to use it as a teaching project for your children or your grandchildren. And I have to say, it does my heart good to hear that sort of thing, that you're passing on those skills to another generation. I love it. So thank you so much for telling me that. Okay, so this is week 2 of Festive Knits, and I'm going to switch to the worktop because this week it's all about these little bobble hats, mini bobble hats. This one is minus its bobble at the moment, but I'm going to show you how to fix that. So I worked out a pattern that you can knit either flat or in the round, and I will get the pattern typed up and post it on Knit Matters Facebook page. I have to do that for the gift card holder too. I ran a bit short of time this week, but I promised to get them done. But in the meantime, I'll explain how to do it. It's very, very simple. So this is actually a thickish double knit. If you're in the UK, you'd know it as double knit yarn. Or in the US, it's known as a worsted weight yarn. I think I've mixed 2 different types of yarn. I think I've got an acrylic at the bottom and a worsted wool at the top. Doesn't matter, it was about using the right colour there for me. So what I've done, let's just move that to the other side. Got some bits of yarn here. I'm going to get tangled up if I'm not careful. Anyway, I cast on 28 stitches. I cast on 28 stitches here. I used a long tail cast on, but you can use whichever cast on that you like. You don't want it too tight though, you want it to have some give. That's why I like a long tail cast on, but anything where it's a little stretchy will work just fine. I am using a 4mm needle, which is a US 6, that's right, US 6. Sometimes these sort of thicker double knits require a size up, but again it depends on tension and how you want the fabric to look. I don't want the fabric to be loose, I want it to be quite firm for this, so I prefer to stick to the 4mm. So 28 stitches were cast on. I left a longish end. Actually, I left 2 ends because I changed colour, because I'm going to use those to sew up the hat when it's done. What I've done is work, I think it was 12 rows here in knit 1, pull 1, rib. So it's approximately 1 3/4 inches, maybe 4.5 centimetres, because ultimately what we're going to be doing is folding that up. So I need it bigger than the an inch. I want it a bit more so it'll fold up nicely without springing back down. Then I worked in stockinette stitch. I changed colour to red, and I did about the same measurement, which turned out to be about 14 rows here. My first shaping row was down here after those 14 rows of stockinette stitch. My first shaping row was very simple. It's literally just knitting 2, and then I knit 2 together. Knit 2 together, and I think there you can see I've done knit 2 together. You could just as easily do an SSK if you prefer. This is a right leaning decrease, you know, whatever you prefer. I think knit 2 together is pretty easy for everybody, and you're not really going to notice it by the time the bobble's on, but I'm lining it up so it does look neat. But you could easily, if you prefer to do a left sloping decrease, you can do that. So that was the first row of shaping. Then it's followed by a purl row. Then after that, the next row was knit 1, knit 2 together, knit 1, knit 2 together across the row. So I went from 28 stitches down to 21 stitches in the first shaping row. Then my second shaping row took me down to 14 stitches, and now I'm just about to do the final shaping row. So I'm going to show you how to do that because I want to show you how to finish it off. So all I'm going to do here is knit 2 together all the way across the row. Knit 2 together, and you would be doing this exactly the same. Everything is just the same if you're preferring to do it knitting in the round. The only difference would be that instead of the purl rows in between those shaping rows, you would obviously just do another knit round. So I've done my knit 2 together across the row, and I've got 7 stitches left. I'm going to leave a long tail here because I would want to use that for my, actually I'm going to leave a short tail here, but if I was doing this for real and making this into a little hat, I would leave quite a long tail because I want to leave that to do my chain loop for the hanger. But just for ease of demonstration, I'm going to snip it off fairly shortish, and I'll come back to it another time to finish it off. Whoops. Then I want to get a yarn needle. I want to thread my yarn needle with that long tail, and then all I need to do now is take this off the needle, take these 7 stitches off the needle. Sometimes I'm brave and I just pull them all off and go through together, but you do run the risk sometimes of dropping some, which you don't want to do. So then I would pull that up nicely like that. If you want to, if you feel it necessary, you can always go around again. It's not really necessary with this, but just to show you, I could go around again. And assuming I haven't snagged my yarn, pull that up nice and tight. So, okay, then I would leave that, as I say, because I would make my chain loop from that. So when it comes to sewing up, and I'm not going to do the whole thing, I like to sew up with the right sides upwards. I like to see what I'm doing and see what I'm going. This is a decorative hat as a decoration, so we don't have to worry too much about it. But if I was going to be sewing this for a person, if this was going to be a hat for a child or an adult, obviously a bigger size, I would want to make sure that my seam looks good once I flip that up. So I would want to knit that, I would want to sew that first bit of seaming from the wrong side. I would want to do that from the wrong side, so when that's flipped up, if you see what I mean. Does that make sense to you? That bit that's flipped up is going to have a nice neat seam there. Okay, but for our purposes, it's a hat. It's probably not going to show. As this is in white, I think it's going to be a little harder to see, but let me just do a few stitches here. White is great, but it's a bit harder to demonstrate for you to see, but hopefully. So all I'm going to do, and I'm not going to worry about it being the wrong side when it's flipped up for the time being, I'm just going to start this off and then I'll go on to the red. I always like to sew up so I can see what's happening with my stitches. So I would just go sort of side to side, making sure that first bit is nice and straight. And if it's not, just pop another stitch in, kind of do a figure of 8 there. Then you can just go up the sides. Oh, I think the first trick or treaters at the door. Have fun. Okay. So you would keep going on, and actually that doesn't look too bad at all. By the time that's flipped up, you're not going to notice. I just want to show you how I would cope with when we get up to the main body of it, and I think you'll be able to see this a bit clearer, because where we've got the stocking stitch, it's a little different. I'm going to undo, I think I had, yeah, I'm going to undo. I don't like knots in knitting, but sometimes I put a knot in just to hold the yarn that I've joined. Okay, so so the way I like to sew up is to just, from the right side, when it's stocking stitch, I'm just going one stitch in. If I'm doing a garment, I'm going to go a whole stitch in. For something like this, I don't want to use too much of my knitting up. I want that to be in the hat. So I'm going to just go up here, matching it as I go. And what I'm looking for is that little bar. If you can see that little bar that lies between that first stitch and the second one. And I go from side to side doing that. Find that little bar. I didn't knit this with any selvage stitches, I just straightforward stocking stitch. Find that little bar. There we go. It's kind of a mattress stitch, and we've done that many times before. But if you are new to Knit Matters and you haven't seen me do that, it just gives you an idea. You can certainly find that in our other episodes. Just do a couple more. You don't want a thick seam on something small like this. You just want to make it as, pardon the pun, seamless as possible. So you get the idea. And then I'd finish sewing off the white. There you go. You can see that that's joining nicely, and it almost looks like a stitch in itself. Okay. And then when that's sewn up and flipped up, you're going to be able to finish that off with a pom-pom and a chain loop. Okay, so that's how we do that bit of seaming. Right. I told you about if knitting it around, the only difference being that it would be continuing knitting with the instead of a purl row. Okay, so our chain loop hanger. To hang your bobble hat, the easiest way is to crochet a chain loop, okay, like this one. We did this in the last episode for the gift card holder hanger. I'm going to demonstrate it in a second in case you didn't see that. I find it easier to do the hanger before I attach the pom-pom. Okay. If you're hanging the ornament on a tree, then you probably want a hanger, a loop that's about 5 inches long, and then, you know, it's folded in half, about 12 centimeters. But if you're decorating a garland or slotting it onto a length of ribbon or twine, a shorter loop will keep the hat sort of nearer the garland if that's what you want. So imagine that's my garland. If I've got a long loop, and again, you may want to alter, you may want that, but you might find that this is going to slip more and it's harder to get the length. If you want them all in a row, it might be harder to get the length right if they're longer. So by the time that bobble is on, which we're going to be doing next, that'll sit nice and close up to the ribbon or the twine. So you might prefer to do a shorter loop, and it's kind of easier then to manage the length of them all if it's fairly short. And I'll show you that one again when we put the bobble on. So how do we make the bobble? This is my bobble that's going onto the hat in a moment, and I'll show you how to do that. But if you have a pom-pom maker, that is the perfect way to do it. This is a pom-pom maker. It comes in 2 sizes. I think this one was by Clover. They're not terribly expensive. It's a handy gadget, but you don't need to go out and buy one just to make the occasional pom-pom. I will show you how to work this. This one is a bigger one, so I find that this is a better size if you're doing children's hats or adults' hats. I did try it out just for amusement's sake to put it on this one, and it came out almost bigger than the hat. So that was it was just a nice little diversion. But this is a better size for the little hats that we're doing. So what you would do, you open this up, and let me get some yarn here, and you kind of hang on to that loop there, hang on to that bit there, or you can weave it around this bit if you want to. I just hang on to it. So you open that up, and then you wind and wind and wind and wind and wind, and keep going. Get it as full as you can. You need to be able to close it, but let's see how full we can go. So that's pretty full there. Let's cut that bit off, close that. Then you do the same the other side. I'm going to hold that bit there. Whoops. Hold it, not lose it, Cheryl. Wind, 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 wind. Get it fairly full, but not sort of bulging out. Okay. Gonna need another bit of that. Close that up. Okay. Now what we do, and this is always surprisingly satisfying. I'm going to cut a piece there, quite a long piece there. Show you for why in a minute. So now there's this little groove that goes all the way along, which I'm going to snip through. Something strangely satisfying about doing that. Then I'm going to do the same the other side. Find that groove. You need some sharp scissors for this, not blunt ones. Nice, fine, sharp ones. Small ones work nicely. Okay, whoops, make sure that it's all cut through. Now with my piece of yarn that I've cut off, I'm just going to put that through that center piece, and I'm going to tie that really quite tightly. Okay, and I'm just going to do a double knot so it doesn't slip off. Then all we do is open up our pom-pom maker and pull the 2 sides apart. Now it looks a bit bedraggled at the moment, does our pom-pom, and as you can see, this just comes apart, and then you would put it together again for your next pom-pom. Okay, so what I would do now is a little bit of, do judicious trimming. Be careful with this. You don't want to start off like doing the garden hedge and thinking it looks all right and then keep trimming, and before you know it, you've got no pom-pom left. Or worse still, no hedge. Doesn't have to be perfect. I like them when they're a little bit kind of, but just trim off those long ends. Oh, that's clever. Look, now I've got lots of fluff on my worktop. That wasn't so smart, was it? There we go. Oh, should have got the roller, the sticky roller out then. Oh well. So, and then you can sort of smoosh it up a bit. Just smoosh it so you can always trim it again once it's on the hat. But that's how you do your pom-pom maker. Now, if you don't have one, or you don't want to get one, or you don't have a need for one, that's fine. There's other ways to do pom-poms, and many of you will remember the way that we did it at school, and I did my pom-poms like this for years, absolutely years. These aren't great circles, I'm sorry. What you do is cut 2 pieces of card, and depending on the depth that you want your pom-pom, that could be wider. I doubt that it would be much narrower unless it's a very small pom-pom. But if you cut your circle, I cut around the base of the cup here, and then cut around a button for the inner circle. I'm sorry, it's not great. I did it in a bit of a hurry, but the idea is there. But if you want it a thicker pom-pom, a bigger pom-pom, then you need to make that a bigger circle to start off with. You have 2 pieces of card, put them together, and literally you're just doing the same thing as we did. It just takes a lot longer. And you build it up, you keep going round. You can add colours if you want, whatever you want to do. And you would keep going round and round and round till you barely get the yarn through there anymore. You do get a really nice fat pom-pom if you keep going. And then again, you would just get your scissors, slide up between the 2 pieces of card, snip that. I'm not going to do it because all the pieces will fall out, but imagine if this was full up with yarn. As I cut that and it springs open, the fact that there's so much there is going to hold it. You would do the same thing again. You would get a piece of yarn, tie it between, really tight, and then just remove the pieces of card. That's another way to do a pom-pom. And children actually really like doing those. So you can keep the children busy for hours making pom-poms. Okay, so we've done our pom-pom there. Oh, I mustn't forget to show you how to do that chain loop. We've done our pom-pom. Let's attach it. Is that the one we've just done? No, doesn't really matter. So the reason I kept the tails long is that it just makes it a lot easier when you're attaching your bobble. So what I like to do, and you can do it whichever way you like, but we're going to go in sort of in front, if you like, of the chain loop. I'm going to pull that one through. Then I'm going to thread this one and do the same thing. I like to do it with 2 tails because it stabilizes the pom-pom a bit more. If you just do it with 1 thread, which you certainly can, you've got kind of a wiggly wobbly pom-pom. Whereas this stabilizes it a bit more because I go in sort of, there's my first one, my first tail, and here's my second one. Now, because it's not a hat that anybody is going to wear, that's sufficient. You don't have to go mad with the stitching. If you want to, or it is actually a real hat for somebody, you could go up again and just loop round. What do I mean by that? Let me show you. Go up. Come up by your pom-pom. Come up the wrong side. I want to go the other side. Okay, coming up by my pom-pom. Right in the middle there. This will look a bit clearer in a minute. And then if I wanted to, I could just go around that. See what I did? I just went round where I'd stitched, then go back down again. It's up to you. Depends how snug you want your pom-pom. And then again, it's a decoration. We don't have to weave ends in. We can just tie that off. Okay. Tie that off, snip it off. And there we now have our, where's my hanger gone? There we go. There's my little loop. So what I was saying earlier, if you wanted to have these a little tighter hanging from a ribbon or a, you know, a piece of twine or something, depends how you want your hats to look. You know, that's gonna, I don't know why I'm turning around for you. That's going to be really nice. It's not going to dangle too low, and if you had several little hats along there, that would look so cute. Okay. So it's up to you how long you want your hanger to be. But let me show you how to do that hanger, in case you didn't see it last week. Now, ideally, you're going to do this with a crochet hook. That's probably a bit too, let me see. So if you don't have a crochet hook, this sort of thing, if you've got one of these little gizmos that are there to help you catch a drop stitch, something like that, that will work just as well. I've even done things like this just with a needle or a double pointed needle. It's certainly doable. So again, but for the speed of demonstration, I'm going to just show you how to do it. So I've got my long tail from where I finished off. I'm just going to go in there, crochet hook goes in, and all I'm doing is a series of loops. If you don't want to do a chain loop, you can just have a piece of yarn or a piece of ribbon, whatever you want, but I do think it sort of, it finishes it off nicely. Do it for as many as you like. It's not a bad idea. You can measure it or just keep a note of how many chains and loops you've done, or just double, if it really needs to be precise and they all need to be the same, then you probably want to count how many chain loops you've done, chain stitches you've done rather, and measure it. I'm just going by what I think now. And then, say that's enough, I'm going to just, oh, actually, an easier way, sorry. I can just fasten it off by going in and doing another loop, but what I find actually easier is to put the tail through the loop and then again, thread your needle, where's my other needle? Yeah, there we go. And pop that through like that, however you want to do it. Some people prefer to just finish the chain loop off with another one at the bottom of the start, at the bottom of the start, to say, and then you can just fasten that off. Oh, I could have done a little bit snugger, but there you go. Okay, I'm not sure what's happened here. I seem to have lost my screen. Oh, there we are. Oh, that's unnerving when that happens. Sometimes if I forget to move the mouse, the screen just goes blank and then I don't know if you're still with me. There we go. So I do hope you like those little hats. I'm going to be doing more of them throughout the week. So by the time we get to Christmas, there's going to be little gift holders, there's going to be little hats. And don't forget, you could do some really fun things here. You could put somebody's initial on this, you could put an initial on. I found some cute little buttons the other day. You could just put a little button on, little reindeer or moose. Oh, I think that's a moose, sorry. It's not a reindeer, it's a moose. or little Christmas tree, whatever. You know, you could individualize them for somebody, or just do a Swiss darning, an initial, something like that. Just make it fun. You can do what you like with them. You could knit stripes, anything you want to do. They're really quite addictive. How long do they take to make? Well, you know, I can do several, good couple of episodes of Outlander. I can do several. They really are straightly addictive. And you can do them either in the round, which saves you sewing up the seams, or flat, whichever you prefer. So have some fun with those. They do look so cute hanging up. Next week, let me tell you what we're doing next week. Now, we did this holly wreath in a couple of seasons ago, and it's knitted holly leaves and berries and then little stockings on the bottom. We're not going to make the wreath again, but we're going to do something different next week with, actually if I move back you can probably see it. I'm going to do something different next week with the holly and berries idea. So stay tuned for that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. As always, feel free to email me or message me if you have any questions on this or any other episode. I will get the patterns done and put those up by the end of the week. This episode and all others are on the Knit Matters page, but they're actually a lot easier to find if you go to our YouTube channel, which is obviously Knit Matters. So if you liked it, if you liked us, if you like this episode, let us know. And if you subscribe when you're on YouTube to the channel, you'll always get the latest episode in your feed when it's published. So thank you so much for watching, and until next time, keep well, keep calm, and keep knitting. Bye bye for now.